Hi there, welcome to this new YouTube series where we learn to use a design tool like Figma from a non-designer. So there's a disclaimer right there in the title that I'm not a designer, but I thought let me just while I'm learning how to design and how to use Figma, let me make a video about that as well, and just talk about a few tips and tricks around Figma and how I go about designing a few other things. So first of all, if you haven't already created an account, head over to figma.com and sign up for the free account. um, it is super easy to use, and that's pretty much what we'll be covering. And towards the end of the video, hopefully, you will agree with me that it is actually very simple, very easy to use Figma. Um, so with Figma, you have once you are in your dashboard, you would have a few drafts that is already created here. But essentially, just to give you a quick tour, you have drafts where you can sort of create either a design file or a FigJam file. A FigJam file is their new whiteboard sort of alternative, and the design file is what we'll be using to really create those graphics and illustrations. um, but but it's in the drafts, so you can always create one here, but you won't be able to really share it with your team. uh, but if you're working in an environment where you have your team created, you'd probably want to create a design file here in your team space, as part of the team project. But anyway, for now, for this video, what we'll do is we'll just continue with a draft, and maybe we can later move it on to a theme project. So I'll click on the plus icon, click on design file, and it should open a new canvas, a blank canvas. I will close this model and close this as well. So it opens up a blank canvas. By default, the background is gray, but you can always go to the design tab here and change this background to whatever color you want it to be. Um, Now, in terms of the space, there's a lot of space here in between, and depending on how wide your monitor is, these sidebars should go onto the side of your screens. Now, what we'll do is, I have this image that I've copied across earlier, and what I generally like to do is when creating graphics, I like to either sketch out a rough drawing of what I'm trying to do, or find some beautiful images from. So this one's from unsplash.com. It's a source of free images that you can use. So what I like to do is get one of those images and use that as a reference point, and then sort of draw and illustrate on top of it. And so today we'll just do that. It's a very simple image, just a target. We won't do the we won't do these arrows, just the targets, just the circles, nothing much. Um, but most importantly, we'll learn a few things along the way, because this is the first video in the Figma series. So we'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So first of all, what you can do is, if you're using another image, you probably want to lock it, otherwise it'll keep moving around. And so to do that, you probably want to find the image from the list over here, and click on the lock icon. So this will now not move anymore. You also would want to rename this layer. So you just call it reference image. Now, of course, when in this particular scenario, since we only have like one at the moment, it doesn't make sense. But if you have a whole list of layers, then naming these layers allows you to really quickly identify what are you looking at, really, when you're searching it from a huge list of layers over here. The next thing what I'll do is, if I want to draw over this using this as a reference point, I would definitely want to make this slightly lighter. so I can see the drawings or illustrations more clear. And what I mean by that is, if I, let's say if I draw this, and actually this is filled up, so anywho, if I, let's say, draw any illustration on top of that without filling it up, you can see that I can't actually, apart from this fine line, I can't really see the illustration itself. And let's say if I want to use a pen, a pen tool to draw over this, it's not very clear to me. So what I would do is I would click on the image and reduce the opacity to, let's say, maybe 40. So this is now much lighter, uh, more easier to draw over, but you can still use, it's still clear enough so you can use it as a reference image. Next thing what we'll do now is create elements on top of this, right? We'll actually do our illustration. So to do that, so this particular image, it's quite simple, it's just circles. So all we need is really is a circle. Now here on the top of your screen, you have a few options. Now it can look like there's too many, but really it's just enough for what we require. The first one here is either a move or a scale. Move, as you can see, or as you have seen, I've used it to move elements around. We'll take a look at scale very soon. Frames and slices we'll take a look at in another video. Perhaps maybe we might look at frames in this video, but maybe not slice. These shapes, the third one is all the different shapes. This is what we'll require for this video. We'll require the ellipse shape, and although it looks like a limited number of shapes, but actually once you get a shape, you can actually change the shape of that particular element, and so you do only require these basic shapes. And then the other one is a pen tool and a pencil tool, clearly for whatever, it's sort of self-explanatory why they're here. And then you have text, because you can actually create mockups, website mockups and stuff like that. So you can actually have a text. Hand tool is good because you can just move around the canvas itself. So it's not really moving the element, it's moving the canvas itself. And if you're collaborating with other people, then you can use this to add a comment on your screen and post your comment on the screen for others to look at. So let's take a look at adding an ellipsis over here. Now, what I was talking about before, what I was explaining earlier, is really of reusing a shape. So what I mean by that is, now you have an ellipsis here, but I can click on this circle and move this, change this shape altogether. So you see, although we added an ellipsis, but now it's become a completely different shape. Then you can also click on the center dot and just drag it down to create a donut. So if I bring this back, now I have a donut. So just like this, it depends on what shape you choose from here. You might have different things that we can actually do. So for now, what we'll do is we will create this ellipsis and place it on top of this image. So to resize a shape, you have two options. One is to either directly drag and drop, drag it around, but you can see that if I drag it in either one direction, it loses its proportion. And so the fix for that is to use the scale option instead of move. So when you use scale option, and when you resize the element, it maintains the proportion. So obviously now it is maintaining a different proportion, so I need to go and change this. Change the height and width to, let's say, 60, and there you go. So that's a nice little circle over here. Keep it over here. Now this one is yellow, so I'll fill this shape with yellow color. Now from the reference image you can make out that there's actually two circles. There's one here in the middle, there's one on the top. What we'll do is, since both of these circles share the same color, we'll actually not create two different circles. Instead, we'll just create one circle, and the inner line here, we'll create another one, but we won't fill it up. So let's resize this. 200, and create another one, but we'll remove the yellow color filling, and instead we'll add a stroke. A stroke is nothing but an outline, and this outline is 1. That's fine. So that is the width of the outline. Now we'll use the scale option to reduce the size a bit and place it here. So we've reduced and placed it here in the middle. You can see that the little lines tell us that the alignment is correct in the center, so that's good. We have some guidance. And what we'll do is, even for the yellow circle, we'll add a stroke, and we'll use this from the outside. So here you go. So we have the first circle in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another circle for the red color. And to do that, the easiest way is to just copy paste and color this red. Little pastel colors. And I'm currently on the scale mode, so I can resize the shape. Here you go. When you resize the shape, it also changes the outline, the size. So I need to reset it back to 1. And of course, the most noticeable thing is that it has sort of gone over. It has been placed over the yellow circle, which is not what we want. So you can right click it, and or either use this keyboard shortcut to send it to the back. Perhaps not at the very back, probably bring it back in the front. Let's do backward. So it goes one layer at a time. Use the keyboard shortcut. There you go. This looks much better. And now if I look at this image, I can see even the red circle has 2 layers. So I'll just resize this here. And what we'll do is we'll just continue the same process for the blue and the black and the white. So with the black one now, we can't give it a black border anymore. So instead, we will give it a white border, and we'll remove the black filling and then resize it. That looks much better. You can see that the borders have increased here, so we'll reset these values to 1. And this one to 1 as well. There you go. And now we finally just require the white circle at the end. So keep this to white. Expand this a bit and drag it at the back. There you go. So there we have our image. Reset this to 1, the outline, so that it looks correct. There you go. So there we have a target, an image of a target, and on the right, and we have just illustrated the same thing on the left. Now I can always bring this colors back. Now if you want, you can always change the colors. So let's say if this red is too sort of dull, you can click on the fill and then click on the color picker to select the original image and bring that color in. So you can do that for both. There you go. And similarly, you can do it for the other ones as well. So we'll keep this as a side. Now what we want to do is we want to, so if you see here on the left, you can see what I was talking about when I said that there's going to be multiple layers. So what we'll do is we'll do a bit of housekeeping. What we'll do is we'll select all of them and group it. So now they are one group. So you have target, and then you have reference image. All good. Now what we want to do is we want to, so let's say if you want to share this image on social media, for example, you would want it to fit in another frame that is of a particular size. So what you do, the easiest way is to click on the option here and click on frame to add a new frame. From the right menu bar over here, you can always set it to be a different size. So let's say 2160 for example. So that's nice and big, a huge frame. Now obviously if I drag the target here, it's going to be very small, right? So what I can do is I can still use the scale option to scale this to be much bigger. There you go. Scale this much bigger and fit it exactly in the center. Now what I can do is I can always change the background of the frame itself. Can change it to a different color maybe. Let's say green. Oops. I wanted to make it a bit more lighter. There you go, more brighter actually. Yep, that looks much better. What I'll do is I'll just adjust the colors for the blue, but um, in terms of the design itself, that's really what you're after. Now the thing with frame, just to note while we're here, is that it allows you to sort of clip your illustrations. So let's say if I was to drag this here, you can see that it is actually sort of clipped it across. And this is great because sometimes you just want to create illustrations where some part of your illustration does not actually show up in the final diagram and or in your final social media post or in your final image, and frames are a great way to sort of clip your content. And so if I select the target and bring it back, for now we don't need to clip the content, so we'll leave it here. And I'll very quickly change the colors for this blue. Oops, do this. Make it nice and dark blue. The ones with the yellow, we can make it brighter yellow as well. And that should be about it. I think I'm happy with this. And there you go. So our very first Figma element, we have used this image as a reference and we have created this illustration. So a quick recap, if you do want to create illustrations, definitely use an image, an existing image, or even a sketch that you have made, and use that as a reference to create an illustration on top of that. In another video or in other videos in this series, we'll take a look at more complex examples. In this example, in this video, all we did was really just use ellipses, but really we wanted to see the other elements of Figma itself, like the layering, grouping, frames, um, how to bring elements to the back, how to bring elements to the front, those kind of things. So we really wanted to get comfortable with that. So yeah, give it a go, give it a go. And if you do end up creating an illustration using Figma, just send me in the comments, just send me a link to the image, post it on social media and just send me a link to the image. I'll take a look, and let me know how it was to use Figma itself. And thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more videos to come.